Hi.
Hey.
Hi, Brittany.
I just want to say for the record, I did not expect you in any way to treat me like anyone but a commenter and a content creator on your stream.
Okay, but you came into a conversation that was pretty heated, and now you like are saying it's like, oh, like he's dog whistling like conservative things about rape, so feel rape victims feel blamed.
No,
And it's like,
I'm saying just for the record, in case you don't know, that's how it sounds, and now you are agreeing that the way you said things, like I don't know if you agree, but like I'm just letting you know how they were heard. I don't need you to change the way you speak. Like you can do exactly the way you're doing it.
Sure.
You were fine to me on that stream. I didn't feel in any way like you were rude to me on that stream.
okay, hold on. Wait. Hold on. I just want to go back to completely disagree with what you just said. That I agree now that I don't agree that I said or did anything wrong at all. Okay, I don't agree
I'm not
with
saying
that.
you. No, you didn't do anything wrong. This is not an ethics question. I didn't think you ethically did anything wrong, but I do think you are wrong to assume like sexually liberated women and conservative women, unless you're having a different discussion that I'm having, which is more individual. How do we impact our culture and our bubble, not like laws, because I don't know anything about laws, right? I'm just talking about like, how do you go about your day doing X, Y, and Z after X, Y, and Z happens? And the way you were talking about it made it sound like they should get over it. And I was like, oh, that's interesting and a weird take from him.
I totally disagree. I completely disagree.
Which is why I came on to talk to you about it. But then you came on my stream, and then you did say that you have a perspective, which is your right and your opinion, that you believe that X group experiences less trauma than X group.
Yes.
Okay, so
that doesn't.
That's where we
That doesn't.
disagree.
Hold on. That is a non sequitur to somebody ought to get over it. People can experience more or less trauma for a huge variety of reasons. Somebody might hear a TV turn on as a childhood, like before they get beaten every day, and now when they hear a TV turn on, they get freaked the fuck out and they expect like there's like a Pavlovian reaction. That doesn't mean they deserve to get over it or they have to. That's you're extrapolating that based on things that other people have said. I've never leaned into that ever, and I've spoken plenty of times in the exact opposite.
For sure. The reason I said that, and again, I'm happy to like reword myself, but you said, and correct me if I'm wrong, why can't a girl just go to a party and like get assaulted and the next day be like, oh shoot, like I guess he got one up on me? Like you said that it's interesting that they can't just move past it. Why do you think that is, right? Is that kind of the example you gave? Am I wrong?
It kind of is, but you're reading into it so incorrectly. That's what I'm saying. When I say, why can't somebody do this? You're phrasing it as like, why don't you just do this? My question is generally, why can't somebody do that? Because it seems like they can't. But when I ask that question, implied in that question is that you can't do it. Whereas you're reading it in the slang sense of like, why don't you just get over that? When I'm asking, why can't somebody get over that? It's an interesting question because there are some things that we get over pretty well. Some things that may be even traumatizing, but it seems we get over. And there are things we don't get over really well. And I'm just curious why we don't get over some things. But you're hearing it as an attack when I don't think I've ever given any indication that I'm attacking rape victims or expecting them to get over it.
No, Totally. I'm just letting you know that again, because even my chat's like, but that's what he said. He's literally saying it right now. So again, we can hear your perspective, but I need you to understand that it takes a lot of work to make sure that you don't mean the different tone. And so that's why I called to check in. And then I was like, okay. But again, you can do you. I'm just letting you know as from the experiences I've had, and again, anecdotally speaking, I can't trust what you're saying because now I don't have any evidence that you would also, like, I don't have enough evidence to counter that thought as a possible, like, obviously you're a good person, bro. I don't think you're not a good person. I don't think you're going to rape anyone, obviously, bro. Like, I've been in your house. I would never think that. But that doesn't mean that the way you're communicating couldn't be improved upon to clarify your position without you, like, you're yelling right now.
I'm yelling right now because I think I was incredibly clear. Kyla just repeated everything back to you verbatim that I said yesterday, and you agreed with all of it and pretended like it was substantively different than what I've said. And because now people have this impression, it was almost verbatim some of the things she was saying. With like she said that yes queen comment, and I think when I gave that exact thing, I think you pushed back hard against it, and you bought what she said 100%. It was the exact same thing that I said. That sometimes people can reinforce your trauma by yes queening you too hard, and it's probably not a good thing. When she said it, you agreed 100%, and you totally fought against me when I said it. And then you started repeating a lot of the things that I said, that the ways that people are raised in society and the way that people are told about things can influence how they are perceiving trauma or the trauma responses they have. Sorry, go ahead.
Could I suggest that I think there's kind of two things that are occurring that keep causing like the missing of each other. I could be wrong, and if you want me to shut up, I'll just step out instead.
Talk, girl, talk.
in my view, I think there's kind of two things going on. I already said the aesthetic piece. I think Brittany, probably unironically, I immediately communicate an aesthetic that's going to be, you're going to take my words at my words and not at the possible implications of my words, because I'm a sexual assault victim myself, and I'm probably a woman. So I'm like somewhat mental health informed, and therefore like I talk like somebody who's in that world a lot. So I, in every way kind of communicate an aesthetic of like safe, not trying to judge, and empathetic to your situation. Whereas like I think in a lot of ways, Stephen doesn't always communicate that aesthetic, but I think also is at a disadvantage for communicating that aesthetic as well. When I think like he's trying to, in many ways, I think he's like earned the rapport to be taken at his words, and like clarified for like what his words are possibly implying if you're like not sure about it. I'm not sure if that's fair though.
Look, I don't think Stephen is advocating for rape. Like, that's not what I'm saying. And I do admit that I was actually like, I'm going to call it a mini trigger the day I called you, and I should have just waited a day, thought about it, and called you now. But now I've thought about it, and I've waited a day, and I've re-listened to the stream, and I'm kind of feel like, yeah, it wasn't the best worded conversation, and I think it could have happened differently, but you did feel extremely dismissive to anyone who didn't agree with you.
Because because I need real answers to questions that I'm having.
You're talking like a policymaker, right? You're being really frank, and when you're using words, you're using very precise words. Like you're intentionally asking the questions in the way that you are, but you're not implying it in the way that some policymakers are implying when they say things like, why can't they just get over it? You're obviously not implying that. You're asking like direct questions. But I think the issue is that when you give the aesthetic, especially as a man and sounding like a policymaker, for people who've experienced that trauma, like that aesthetic is something that's really hard to get over. And I'm not saying that like they're right for not getting over it or that you're wrong for doing that. I'm just saying this is probably why the miscommunication happens. I don't think anyone is wrong in this situation. I mostly just think it's a miscommunication.
Yeah, and also with policy making, just in this regard, if there is a policy to be made, you kind of make it sound like sexually liberated people should get less of a focus. And that's why that's interesting to me, because there doesn't seem to be anything that I understand that they don't need as much help as anyone else.
You're so hung up on the one example.
No, that's okay.
But
that's
hold
okay.
on, wait. But if what I said is true, then they should get more of the focus. Yes. That's how we treat these types of things.
Fine.
No. I'm right. It's not just an opinion. People that are more negatively impacted by some things should get more of the focus than other people, right? If there are a group of people walking into the water and they can't swim, they should have more flotation devices than the ones that can. I don't like the idea, the saying of like, well, everything is the same and everybody's blah, blah, blah. And that is absolutely not true, especially when it comes to trauma. And the idea that all of it is treated the same is because everybody can everything is not only wrong, it's like unhealthy and dangerous, because different people do respond differently to different things, and it's important to be able to account for that. That's why when somebody's diagnosed with like PTSD or CPSD, they have to take an inventory, they have to take an assessment. It's not just you come in and say, I'm traumatized, and they're all treated the exact same.
Okay, so just to clarify, if two people are raped, before we help either, we should see who got raped worse.
I'm oh god, hold on. I'm trying to
he's
say
talking out of
hold on. I'm trying to answer this question without fucking going full nuclear, okay? What I'm saying is that if two people got raped, when they're evaluated by a psychologist or a psychiatrist or therapist, whoever the fuck is evaluating them, there probably are predictive things that you're looking for to see what are more likely outcomes. So for instance, let's say two people come in and they both say that they got raped. And let's say one person says, yeah, I got raped, and also I got laid off by my job, and I've had some suicidal ideation in the past. I don't feel bad right now, and I also have like depressive disorder, whatever. That person, maybe the therapist looks at their notes, or they have their research. These people are like 95% more likely to try to kill themselves after rape. Yes, that person would be treated differently. Yes, based on their history and the predictive factors.
I agree with that, but the
way that I said it makes it sound like we should just tease people that got raped and are sluts and then take people seriously that are conservative. Brittany, that is the most insane reading of what I'm saying ever. Like, even the way you're phrasing it is like, so you're saying if two people come in and they got raped and one of them wore a crazy dress and the other one, wore a totally formal dress, that the person that was, dressed more professionally should be taken more seriously? I'm not saying anything remotely close to that. Like, there's no world where I'm saying something like that.
No, I know that, but did you go to your Reddit and read the posts and comments from your guys?
Not yet.
Because a lot of them were like, Destiny's right. Getting raped isn't as bad as getting beat up. And I was like, okay, guys, we can't be like playing the who got hurt more game when it's like every person's going to have a different relationship with their trauma.
No.
The point is,
sorry,
go
finish. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, just
So
finish.
what I'm saying is, I understand that I was in my feelings. I'm fully admitting it when I initially called you. But now that I've had time to observe and go on your Reddit and see what people are saying, there is a split in conversation. But ultimately, the way you're phrasing things, which is fine, you can do that, is going to sound confusing because it still sounds like you're like, I understand you want to build a hierarchy, but again, my focus is how do we help as many people as possible? And it doesn't matter who's in line first.
Helping as many people as possible sometimes requires building a hierarchy, right?
Absolutely. From a societal perspective.
Wait, how can you keep agreeing with me when I'm saying the exact opposite of what you're saying?
Because we're talking about different things.
Individuals. She's talking about like her as an individual.
Even as an individual, it would be the same. If I had 2 children and one came to me and their arm was chopped off and the other one had a paper cut, I'm triaging. I'm going to treat, like with the medical resources I have, the one who's bleeding out of their body. Even on an individual level, what I'm saying is true.
I'll give you an example. My sister and I grew up in the same family because she was a straight A student and never caused trouble. Her like all her trauma was neglected because I was a loud child. I threw tantrums. I rebelled. My parents gave me all the attention. And then it wasn't until my sister hit her 20s that they were like, oh shit, we neglected one of our kids because we thought she was in less pain. And what I'm saying is just because it looks like they're in less pain doesn't mean they are, or maybe they're just in a different kind of extreme pain that's the same but different. So I'm just more focused on not forgetting that even if trauma doesn't look traumatic, I get neglected all the time in different ways because I'm like so strong and stuff. People are like, Brittany doesn't need help. Brittany doesn't need help. Now that I'm older, but that doesn't mean I don't need help or people don't need help. I'm just trying to be open and considerate of different personalities, different like ways people present themselves. And I'm totally fine with you doing you in your bubble, in your world. I'm just letting you know as a friend, when I heard it, I was like, oh, that feels weird. And I don't think that's the Steven I know. And so now that we're getting clarifiers, I'm great with everything you're saying in this bubble for that solution, but it wouldn't work in mine because I'm focused on the individual. But I appreciate your efforts on a global, on a national level. Is that okay? Like, I'm okay with your thoughts as long as you understand that, like, it just wouldn't work for all people, just the people you're kind of focusing on.
Sure. I just totally disagree. I think it would work for all people. Okay. I don't think you've said a single thing that contradicts anything I've said whatsoever. I don't know why you think that. I don't think that some people can't have hidden trauma or that some people can't. I'm not saying we should ignore some people. I think everything I'm saying applies on a personal and on a societal level. Kyla, if you want to tell me something you think I'm wrong about, go for it. Come in. Okay.
It's not about you being wrong. It's not about me saying, I'm not saying, Destiny, it sounds like you're saying X, which is wrong. It's what's really being communicated is Destiny. It sounds like you are somebody who would be saying X, right? Okay. Whereas when I'm speaking, it's like, I know you're laughing, but it's like, of course, the way that like you communicate these things are going to influence the way that like, especially audiences that aren't warm to you are going to like receive the words, right? I know it's silly. I know it should be like something that people don't care about, but you would agree that people only typically care about like the first 2 inches of like how people present.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. Did that go through? Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How are we doing today, guys?
Good. I'm glad we're talking. I was really scared you weren't going to talk to me again when Chad was like, he's not going to talk to her. And I was like, oh no.
Brittany, I'll always talk to you, okay?
Thanks. I appreciate it. I don't want to burn a bridge when this is a great example of how to like build, like, you know, mesh bubbles and build bridges. And like, this is a great example of how are we both trying to help people in different ways. And then do we need to step on each other's toes or should we actually stay out of each other's business and help who we're helping? That's like a question I'm thinking about. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thanks for letting me scream and wild out for a little bit, okay?
Yeah, we love it. We love it.
Okay.
Okay. We good?
Yep. Be careful.
Okay. Have a good day, guys.
Yep.
Okay,
bye. Bye.
Tell me what I'm wrong about. Am I wrong about anything? I think it applies.
Hold on. I've been saying from the very beginning, and your chat's going to fucking lose their brain. I am not saying you're saying something wrong. I'm not saying that at all.
Okay. All right.
At all.
I sound insensitive.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No, it's more important than that.
Oh, okay.
Not only are you right, but people need to be able to hear it. Okay. That's what matters here. You are correct, and it is fundamental that people hear this because this is something that you are correct about that society is failing in. The yas queening shit is bad, right? And the dismissing people's right is bad. So we need as a society a more like, I don't know, just not even more sophisticated, just a better way of how we're approaching these types of conversations. And the issue is, in my mind, it's like an unironic, like, I hate even having to do this, but it's like the main thing is that like on a topic like this, I think if you're not really mindful of the way that like you sound when you communicate it, you're going to fall on deaf ears. And I think like this is the exact advice that you would probably give me, for example, like when I go on Fresh and Fit, there are two ways that I can approach a conversation with them about like women, right? One way is going to communicate to them that I'm a feminazi who hates men. And another way is going to communicate, I understand your side, blah, 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 even though I'm saying the same shit. Because of course, how you sound matters. Like, of course they do. And anyone in chat.
Okay, you know what? Are you
like an
listen?
Actual autistic?
Okay,
like, I don't know what
here.
else to say.
Are you ready? Are you bored? I'm gonna. Can I pay you for work?
Possibly.
Okay, I will pay you.
Until I know.
Verbal contract. I'll give you $100. Okay, if you want to go through like 20 or 30 minutes of my video with Brittany, and can you tell me where I say something where it's like, oh, Steven, when you said this, it kind of sounds like you want women to get raped and you're blaming them for it. Can you do that for me? I just want to hear a part where you're like, you should have phrased this better, or you should have. Okay, I'm being hyperbolic, but like one part where you're like, when you say something like this, it comes off like this. I'm just super curious because my perception of it. I'm gonna kill you first. My perception of it is that it's a lot of like personal feelings and sensitivity on the other side that like I don't think I can accommodate. I don't think I can reasonably accommodate in that conversation. I think the only answer would be to just not talk about these things. That's what it feels like.
Sure. Sure. I will. You don't need to pay me. I will absolutely look through and see if there's anything. It's possible that I'm completely wrong and I'm just like in my own feelings because like Destiny's my friend, but it's not to me about like rhetoric or tone specifically.
Well, what you're talking about right now is exactly rhetoric and tone. That's exactly what we're talking about.
I'm not trying to talk about that.
I don't care what you're trying to. But that's what we're saying that like listen, the type like it's literally what is it, ethos or pathos or whatever. Like the person that you are makes you harder to sympathize with when you talk about these types of sexual assaults. People have heard other things in the past from people that say these types of things. Therefore, they might mix up. So you need to be careful to like couch your language in as much understanding discourse as possible, or be aware of this, or make this concession. Blah blah blah. Like it's all like, and that's not rhetoric's not necessarily bad, but that is fundamentally because if you're saying like, oh well, I think that you're correct about everything you're saying. They're just like for some reason people might misinterpret or whatever. Like it feels like that's what we're talking about. Not that that's bad. I'm not trying to. I'm not sedging you. Yeah.
It's not who you are. It's about some people not believing you're saying something that you're not. Right. It's about people reading into implications because you are talking like the way somebody who would be talking when they mean this.
Sure.
It's just about that, right? It's the friend who acts like a persnickety old man when they're actually like super super kind.
Sure. It's the part of my
asshole, even though they're not.
Yeah, there's a small part of my huge anti-Vosh manifesto what was it? I think it was a Vosh manifesto, where I had written about that there's a problem where we are so scared of certain conversations that just by saying certain things, when we get so obsessed with dog whistles, we like think that somebody's being like hardcore bigoted when they're not. ContraPoints gave an example of one of her videos where there was an image of a white lady holding a white child and it says we need to protect our future. And her first response was, holy shit, this is a Nazi ad. But it was just like some like fucking like homeless adoption shit or something, right? Because like we get like so hardcore into like if you say anything but I think that reinforces my earlier point where it feels like if you even ask the question of like, can our backgrounds mediate our trauma responses? That like you're blaming rape victims. I don't think that's fair. I think that's an insane reaction, but I think that's super normalized in society. Or like, do black people go to prison because they commit more crime? Like if you say that's like, oh my God, you're racist, you're a race realist. It's just like instant, and it's like I think that's a problem. That's like a bad thing.
Yes, I would agree that it is a bad thing. Because people are so quick to like outhand dismiss.
And then the conversation can't even happen, right? Or like maybe boys need more help in school. Like that's a conversation we can't even have in society, and it's like horrible. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
But what would you say if, for example, I went on Fresh and Fit, and in every way I said everything that I had said, but I said it in like I communicated it with a very different aesthetic. So like rather
I'd be
than
hypercritical of you.
Yeah. Why?
Because you're entering another domain where the expected behavior is going to be far different. If I went onto a panel and the panel was like, this is a whole bunch of sexual assault survivors, let's talk. My conversation is going to be way fucking different than me talking to my stream about how I feel or about questions that I have about these things. I would never in my life go up to a rape victim and be like, do you think that maybe if you weren't such a prude about sex, you wouldn't have cared about getting raped so much? I would never say that in my life. That's an insane thing to say, right?
Right.
But if you were talking on your stream about something, I wouldn't be like, Kyla, when you say these things, people like Fresh and Fit, they're going to think that you're being totally fucking crazy. Because I imagine you say, okay, yeah, well, when I'm on Fresh and Fit, I would act in a different way. But this is just me talking to my audience on my stream. Sorry, go ahead.
Right. The issue is that, like, when we're talking about tone and rhetoric, it feels like an acute issue. I'm not really talking about an acute issue. I'm talking about like a chronic issue, like the whole general energy of like pick me, right? Mm-hmm. If I have a chronic aesthetic, so not acutely, let's imagine I go into a feminist panel and I use all the right rhetoric and tone and everything. But when they go to my channel, they see constant shit that's very pick me energy, right? I have a chronic aesthetic now where even when I'm communicating in a different way, even if I'm using better tone and rhetoric and entering the domain, they're going to hear something different, right?
I understand what you're saying. I asked a question of you last night when we were playing, I think, or when I was playing, sorry. I asked you that question of, do you think it's possible to make yourself exist in a world of clips? Can you actually accommodate every 30-second section of your speech? And I think you reasonably said, no, it's probably not possible. I don't think I can present chronically. I don't think I can present a character that will survive acutely every single situation I'm in. I think that the reality is there are going to be some hats that I wear where some people are going to see me and they're going to go, this motherfucker is insane. I saw Destin, he was the kindest, nicest person ever when he was talking about black women, and now here he is on a progressive panel saying, maybe we can't blame slavery for every single problem of the black community. I thought this guy loved black people, and now he sounds like a fucking conservative. That's just the reality of existing on all the different platforms. But I think that's going to be true of every human being ever. It's just more out front when we're humans, right? The way that you would act with a boyfriend or girlfriend is going to be way different than how you'd act in church, or how you'd act in front of their parents, or how you'd act in front of teachers, or how you'd act in front of your children, right? Like if my child had access to me, well, I guess I'm not a good example because I'm a streamer, so they do. But like, imagine if your child had access to you 24/7. There would be a lot of stuff that it would have a really hard time. Like, well, listen, like that's where all the like, well, sometimes when adults are doing this, like it's different, or sometimes adults don't mean the things they say. Blah, blah. Like it's impossible to exist in a chronic manner where it would survive every single acute interaction, in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Are you hearing me say that I'm saying that you're doing something wrong or that you need to change something?
Yes. Are you not saying that?
That is not. That's not
you're just telling me what's happening?
I'm telling you what is happening. You can, I'm just telling you what is happening. This is why people are coming away with this. Generally, your chronic, aesthetic, right? People don't think, for example, that you're a guy who flies out 20 girls every week and fucks them and flies them home and ignores them for the rest of the life, because you don't give that vibe to people. Even though you're rich, you're young, you're famous, you're charismatic, you're decently handsome, right? You just don't communicate that to anyone. No one would really think about that. I'm really not here trying to say you need to change how you appear. It's just, all I'm saying is, in the conversation, for example, with Brittany, I get that she was coming into your space, but in a conversation where people are already wondering about how much of an asshole, how you're cold about things, then you're talking to a rape victim and you're asking questions that communicate an aesthetic that some people are not going to be able to hear what you're actually saying, and some people won't buy it. In that situation, if you wanted to counter that happening, you could juxtapose your current conversation against your general appearance. So in the general appearance, you appear cold, kind of chill. You ask questions, but you're sometimes communicate a disinterest, and you're just you kind of suss through things in a very kind of logical way, more exclusively, right? If that's the general aesthetic that people have of you, if you're talking to a rape victim and you wanted to appear like somebody who wasn't saying X or Y or appearing in some sort of way, you could juxtapose it. You don't have to. I don't care either way. I have heard what you said, and I'm not judging you necessarily on your words, but I am saying that this is what's happening.
Sure. I kind of understand what you're saying. I think
because aesthetics is function. It's not aesthetics over function. It's not anything like that.
I'm not telling you to be different. Okay, I'll be selfish right now, okay? Because this plays into our conversation last night. I think I need to make the ask. I think the thing is, I would have a higher expectation of a friend, I guess. That would be my thing. If I heard Brittany saying something that sounded fucking wild, I would never go in and be like, oh, Brittany, it sounds like you fucking hate men, right? So yesterday, I could have said, Brittany, I think you actually fucking hate men. The way that you played up the fight that your brother got in, you think it's cool that guys get jumped? You don't see that men are the victims of violent crime 10 times more than women. You don't see that men are getting locked up in prison. I could have gone down that road, but I don't think Brittany thinks that, right? But she did say exactly the type of thing, a woman romanticizing male violence, that would play perfectly into that misandrist narrative. But I don't think Brittany's that kind of person. I would never assume. If I really thought that, I might shoot her a message and be like, you don't actually think that getting into fights is like the cool thing about being a guy or whatever, right? Like, but I don't think she does. I think that was just the way she explained the story. So I guess I feel like if somebody comes on, especially a friend, and is like, I think you sound like a conservative that is just telling women to get over rape, and it's like, what? It's just like such an unbelievable feeling of me. It's like getting misgendered, I guess. Like whatever exists of me in your mind is so fucking different than what I would have assumed you would have thought of me. That's just insane to me. But I guess that's just my feeling, I guess. Now I'm in my feelings, okay?
You're like, like it's unfair. That's fine. You're like, it's unfair. Like you're kind of upset. Like, why would my friend take my words over why would you take my words or like the implications of what you think my words are over my obvious known intentions of me as a person? I think that that's super fair.
Thanks for fucking validating my fucking feelings, okay? Doesn't make me feel any better, but thanks. Okay.
I know it doesn't make you feel any better, sure. But I think like this is a different conversation, and I think that this is actually a really valuable conversation, right? Because I don't, if you're like, if we go back to the aesthetic one, if you're just saying, well, I can't do anything about the aesthetic, that's just is what it is and I don't really care, that's fine, right? But the second conversation is, I don't really like that my friend would assume something so like nasty of me when she should know better because she knows me. I think that that's a really important conversation. And in fact, like this is an expressly important conversation. Like Nick and I have had this exact conversation in the past where like he was like, I wish you could just like not just hear like my words and the possible implications of what it could sound like, but that you would like take my words into context of who you know me to be. I think that's a very important conversation to have with somebody.
Okay. Anything else?
Are you gonna make the ask?
Probably not. Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it's public now, so I mean, she's probably aware that the asks exist.
Yeah, maybe. I think it's probably just around this one topic. I don't think it'll come up again, but.
I mean, I think it's really fair to say, please stop treating me like a misogynistic asshole who would dismiss women and question rape victims. I think that that's a pretty fair ask and a good ask to make of your friends.
True. Okay. I'll draft that up tonight. I'll see how I feel sending it over, okay?
What's going on?
I need to do that, yeah. Fulcrum. Say hi to Fulcrum. He's in YouTube chat.
Hi, Fulcrum.
Thank you.
Fulcrum?
Fulcrum? He's the guy that sends us all to Yodi Land. We all go and talk about sexual assault, I guess.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Chief?
What's the resistance? Are you gonna ask? I mean, I don't have to. I'm just curious about the like. Now that we've gotten to this point, it seems like you're like, oh fuck, like it's like annoying or like you're not that interested, and I'm curious.
It just feels cringe.
Cringe?
Yeah.
How so?
It just does. It just feels cringe.
Like to have like basically being like, oh damn, like part of this was like an.
Feels like I should just get over it. That's what it feels like.
Oh my gosh.
It happens. I can be an asshole sometimes. Fuck it. What is a no path?
But that's not how feelings work. Emotions aren't cringe. They just are. They just exist.
Yeah, but following them is the cringe part. That's why we go the way of the lone wolf. We just play Sigma male affirmations for 12 hours and we're fucking
Nah, that shit's cringe. That shit's cringe. Like good wisdom is taking logic and emotions and like incorporating them together to figure out the best direction forward. Emotions are based.
Okay. Yeah, probably, yeah. I mean, it's kind of the thing that powers our whole lives, huh?
Yep. Diffusing with humor is cringe, all right?
Me? No shot.
Toxic male right now.
No shot. Not me. I would never do that. Oh, that sounds like someone has a problem confronting feelings and emotions and shit, and they just try to use humor to get out of it until the other person leaves the call. Been fun, Kyla. See you. Talk to you later, buddy. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
You want me to leave you in your avoidance?
Yep. See you later, Kyla. Have fun.
Yeah, diffusing with humor is for blue-haired piss babies.
True.
Absolutely afraid of emotions.
True. Yep. Bye. Yep. Have fun.
Okay. Bye. Have fun with your emotions. Bye. Bye.
Absolutely fucking destroyed. Don't ever let her come back and think she can do anything, okay? But get annihilated on my stream.